Assalamu alaikum. We have learned about linear and circular motion in the previous video. In this video, we will discuss projectile motion. Now, before going ahead, let me tell you what is a projectile. Projectile is nothing but an object under motion. What is projectile? Projectile is an object which is thrown with a certain initial velocity in air and allowed to move only under the action of gravity. Such a motion is referred as projectile motion, and here the object thrown is referred as projectile, and the path followed by the object under motion is referred as trajectory. What do you call that? Here the path followed by the object is referred as trajectory. Path followed by the object. Under motion. This is nothing but trajectory. Okay, let me show this to you with the help of a simple diagram. Suppose you have an object thrown from the ground. It will follow this kind of parabolic path. Sometimes this path may be a part of parabola. Now it appears as something like this. Suppose if you throw an object with some initial velocity in air from certain height, then in such case it may follow this path as well. Here both this path followed by the projectile is referred as trajectory. Remember that. Now an object under motion, under a projectile motion, influenced by two velocities. What are they? They are two velocities that affect the projectile motion are as follows. What is that? The first one is the uniform velocity acting along the horizontal direction. Along the horizontal direction. And a second is nothing but uniformly changing velocity acting along the vertical direction. The second velocity is the uniformly changing velocity along the vertical direction. Yeah, so these two velocities affect the motion of a projectile. Okay, and here one thing I forgot to mention, the process of the motion of the projectile is referred as projection. Look at this. This throwing of the object is referred as a projection. Now I will provide some examples of projectile. Examples. Now an object thrown from a window is referred as a projectile. Now suppose a bullet is fired from a gun, then it is also referred as a projectile. Here, the bullet which is in motion is referred as a projectile. The third, a javelin or shot put thrown by an athlete is an example of a projectile. Now, apart from this, a jet of water issued from a pipe or hose or from a hole at the bottom of a tank is also referred as a projectile. Like that, in simple words, anything which is thrown with some initial velocity is referred as projectile. Maybe if you carry a ball in your hand, if you throw that ball with some initial velocity in air, then that ball is referred as projectile. A missile launched from a launching pad can be referred as a projectile. I hope you have understood. So let's go ahead. So these are some of the examples of a projectile. And here, apart from this, certain information that you need to know about projectile is nothing but this. We can classify projectile motion into two types of projectile motion. Projectile motion. What are they? First one is horizontal projection. Horizontal projection. Now suppose there is an object thrown with some initial velocity along the horizontal direction. Then it is called as horizontal projection. How it appears something like this. Suppose you are dropping, you are throwing an object from a point at certain height from the ground. This is the ground, and here the object is kept at certain height h. So if you throw it with some initial velocity along the horizontal, it will follow this path. Okay, so it is an example of horizontal projection. The next is oblique or angular projection. Oblique or angular projection. Angular projection. What is this oblique or angular projection? Now suppose if you throw an object from the ground, then it starts moving in this manner. This path. This is the trajectory of that projectile. Okay. Here we have thrown an object from the surface of the earth with some initial velocity in air. So it starts moving upward. But due to the gravitational pull, after one particular point, it starts moving downward. When an object is thrown in this way, we call such projection as oblique or angular projection. Correctly speaking, here we throw the object which is thrown from the ground. Actually, it is thrown with some angle with respect to the ground or horizontal. Clear? This is called as angle of projection. Okay, and the path followed is referred as trajectory, and the object under motion is called as projectile. Now, as I have told you earlier. So these are types of projectile motion. Now next, there are certain assumptions that we need to keep in our mind while studying projectile motion. What are they? Assumptions. Assumptions. Study a projectile. A projectile in motion. Okay, what are they? There are two assumptions. There are certain assumptions that I'll write one by one. First assumption is we assume the absence of air resistance. Absence of air resistance. So what is this air resistance? Air resistance is nothing but opposition to the movement of an object by the air present in the surrounding. Suppose you might have observed, if we drop a feather from certain height, it do not fall straight. Instead, it starts moving to and fro. Clear? It moves in a wavy pattern slowly and then fall on the ground. So it is due to the presence of air in surrounding. Here, the presence of air opposes the movement of feather. So it starts moving in that pattern, something like this. Clear? So here we assume the absence of air resistance. Second, acceleration due to gravity, which is g, and it is almost equal to 9.8 meter per square second on the surface of Earth. It is assumed to be constant at every point on the surface of the Earth where the object is under motion. Okay, so g is assumed to be constant at every point. But third assumption we make is we neglect the curvature of the effect on the surface, on the motion of the object due to the curvature of Earth. The effect due to the curvature of the Earth is neglected. Okay, and apart from that, fourth thing that we neglect is nothing but the motion of the effect due to the effect on the projectile due to the rotation of the Earth, due to the rotation of the Earth. Okay, here we know Earth is constantly rotating. The effect of the rotation of the Earth on the moving object is neglected. So these are the assumptions that we need to keep in our mind while studying the projectile motion. I hope the video is useful. If you have any kind of doubt relevant to the topic, can you put a question in the comment section. Thanks for watching.